Picture this. A Wellington bomber somewhere over the coast of occupied Europe, deep in the middle of the night. In the rear turret, a Czech air gunner sits behind two machine guns, scanning black sky for the shape of a German fighter. Something taps his elbow. The navigator is bent over his charts 6 feet away. Nobody is there. So he stares back into the darkened belly of the aircraft. And in the dim light, he sees a shape on the floor. It's a dog. So stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for some extreme turbulence, because this is Final Boarding Call. Hello, and welcome to Final Boarding Call. I am your disaster-obsessed host, Alice.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I have to introduce myself anymore at this point. Who am I? I'm just Zach.
He's just Zach, guys. Before we dive in, please rate, review, subscribe.
Wherever you get your podcast. We're on YouTube.
God, that's a big, exciting new announcement. We are available to listen to on YouTube. So if you're a YouTuber, get on over there. Do your thing. That's not me. I'm not really a YouTuber.
No, neither.
So Zach, in case you couldn't tell from the intro, this episode is going to be about a dog. It still is about planes, but it's about a hero dog.
Does the dog fly the plane?
Wow, what a twist that would be. The dog does not fly the plane. I felt inspired this weekend to write an episode about a dog, an amazing dog, because we lost an amazing dog last Friday. Many of you who've been listening to this podcast regularly know about Benji. He is our old
tippy-tappy
dog.
boy.
He is the tippy-tappy boy, deaf, blind, used to do laps right while we were recording. We will miss his tippy-tappies. To Benji.
R.I.P. Benj.
R.I.P. Benj. Sources for this one, we've got Antis Dog of War by Damien Lewis. We've got some reporting from Radio Prague International and a recorded interview with Gary Manley, who currently owns the dog's medal. And of course, our full list of sources can always be found
Where?
in the show
notes.
notes. Zach likes history, so hoping this is going to be a good one for you. On March 15th, 1939, German troops march into Prague, and Czechoslovakia stops existing as a country. Hitler declares Bohemia and Moravia a protectorate of the Reich. If you are a history person, maybe some of that made sense to you. But here's why it matters. The Czechoslovak Air Force, more than 1,000 aircraft, is simply handed over.
Wowzers.
Its pilot and gunners are not. Hundreds of them start walking. One of them is Václav Robert Bozdek, who is 27 years old. He trained as a locksmith at a technical college in Pilsen, and he'd been called up in 1934 and retrained as an air gunner on twin-engine bombers. In June 1939, he crosses on foot into Poland, joining an exodus of his countrymen. Poland has no interest in absorbing Czechoslovak airmen, but France does.
Oh, that makes sense.
His visa comes through in July, and he sails with more than 400 others. France puts him in the Foreign Legion first. It's brutal physical training, and it's a long contract, and when war is declared, he transfers to the French Air Force. Which brings us to the winter of 1939 into 1940, and a stretch of the war the people at the time called the Phony War. Germany and France are officially fighting, and for 8 months, almost nothing happens. No offensives, two armies basically staring at each other. It's like, okay.
You gonna swing?
Yeah. Sometime that winter, Bozdek flies a recon mission out of the French air base at Saint-Dizier in a Potez 630, which is a small twin-engine aircraft. 2 men, a pilot in front, a gunner behind them. Think Top Gun, but circa 1940. His pilot is a Frenchman named Pierre Duval. Anti-aircraft fire finds them. The aircraft goes down in no man's land, the strip of ground between the French and German lines that belongs to literally nobody. When I say no man's land, I mean it literally...
It is not a man's land.
It is literally no man's land. So Bozdek walks away from it, but Duval does not. He is badly hurt. And above them, a column of black smoke is now marking their position for anyone who cares to look. Capture doesn't mean the same thing for each of them. So Duval is French, and a captured French airman goes to a prisoner of war camp. Bozdek is a Czech national fighting in a foreign air force against the country that has annexed his own. So if he gets caught, they will kill him.
Immediate.
He gets Duval to an abandoned farmhouse nearby. Inside, he hears something move, and he draws his pistol. What comes out from behind an overturned chair is a German Shepherd puppy.
Pupper Doodles.
It's a few weeks old, starving, barely able to stand, and this little thing is growling up at him.
I'll take you down, mister.
He's got that big dog energy in him, even though he's this sick little puppy. Well, Bozdek offers it chocolate from his rations, which we don't recommend doing, but what can you do? Well, it won't eat it. The chocolate is frozen solid, so he holds it in his hands until it softens. He finds an old frying pan, fills it with snow, and melts the snow so the dog has water. And then they all wait for dark. When dark comes, the 2 airmen leave. They put down water and the rest of the chocolate. They lock the puppy inside the house, and they start across the snow toward the woods a few hundred yards away. They are almost at the trees when the sky behind them lights up. It's flares. A German search party is out looking for the crew of a downed aircraft. And from the farmhouse, they hear puppy howling. Oh gosh, it's a little puppy. The 2 of them work out what has to happen next, and there is only one answer. Like it or not, the howling will absolutely bring a search party over here. So both of them will be taken. One of them will be shot on the spot or tortured for information. The dog has to be silenced. So Bozdek leaves Duval lying in the snow and walks toward the house, looking on the ground for a rock. Something heavy enough to do what needs to be done in one blow. Inside, the puppy hears footprints coming and starts throwing itself against the locked door. He opens the door with the rock in his hand, and he puts the rock down. He unzips his flight jacket, lifts the puppy against his chest, zips it shut, and carries it into the trees. Because he is a good guy, and we are not about to kill a puppy on this podcast.
I can't imagine having to kill a puppy with my bare hands. I'm not sure I could do it.
I couldn't.
I mean, even if it meant that I was going to die.
Correct.
It's like, oh no.
No. I watch videos of puppies on the internet, and I'm like, I would sacrifice myself for that dog.
Well, we don't deserve dogs.
No, we don't. Absolutely not. And it's not this puppy's fault that we're involved in some war. Good Lord. A French patrol sent out to look for the crash finds all 3 of them soon after. So good news.
Yeah.
The French found
The
us.
right people
That's
found
the
them.
right, yeah. Duval goes to a hospital, and Buzdek goes back to Saint Dizier with a puppy inside of his jacket. And his fellow Czech exiles crowd around it, and they start arguing about a name. They land on Ant after an aircraft they'd loved back home. For the rest of the phony war, Ant does very little except attach himself permanently to Buzdek. What do they say? You don't choose your dogs choose you. Sleeping at the foot of his bed in the barracks. Then, on May 10th, 1940, the phony war ends.
And the real war.
The real war is about to go down for real. German bombers hit Saint Dizier, and it's bad. Of all the aircraft on that airfield, 14 survive.
Wow.
And in the days that follow, Buzdek notices something about the dog. Before the sirens go, before anybody on the ground hears an engine, Ant goes rigid. Legs locked, hackles up, head turned toward the horizon, growling at nothing. Then
He hears it.
the sirens go. Yes. Whether he's hearing engines at a distance that no human ear can reach or picking up on something else entirely, nobody really knows. You know, we didn't do a study on this. It's 1940. But the men on that base learn to read the dog the way that you would read an instrument. When Ant goes stiff, find cover. France collapses fast. By mid-June, the squadron's remaining aircraft are destroyed on the ground. And on June 17th, 1940, the unit is told it's disbanding. The Czech airmen make their own plan. Get south, get to Britain, get somewhere else, and keep fighting. The nearest railway station is roughly 25 miles away, about 40 kilometers, and they have no transport. Then they pass a house where a party is underway. The people inside are celebrating the German invasion.
Oh, so they weren't really friends.
No, this is not a party that I would want to go to. So the Czechs use the dog to distract the guard, subdue him, and steal a light carriage from the property.
All right.
They pile their possessions on it. They put Ant on top of that pile, and they take turns pulling and pushing it down the roads.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Ant keeps sliding off, and every time he falls, the whole column stops. And somewhere in there, one of the airmen suggests, for the second time in this dog's very short life, that they kill him. Well, Buzdek
Is attached at this point.
picks up that dog and carries him on his shoulders.
Yup.
And within the hour, all of them are taking turns carrying this dog. At the station, they find a train, and the train is a wall of people trying to get aboard. They're all trying to get out, obviously. It's the beginning of war.
It's bad time.
Ant breaks away, runs the length of it all the way to the back, and stops in front of a locked cattle wagon. Buzdek bangs on the door, assuming that it's crammed like everything else. But it slides open, and inside there is one woman and her 2 young daughters, and nobody else.
Oh, man.
The reason the dog picked that car,
Because it was quiet.
one of the little girls was eating chocolate. His favorite snack. The train covers 60 miles in 3 days, about 97 kilometers, roughly the pace of a brisk walk. Well, they run out of food. So at every stop, the Czechs start producing an empty baby's bottle and asking locals for milk. The locals see the bottle, assuming that there's an infant on board, and they hand over any milk that technically they really can't spare because they're in war, but they hand over some milk. There is no baby, but there is a dog to feed. So from Montpellier, they get to Marseille, and from Marseille, they get a boat. And on June 30th, 1940, they reach Gibraltar. Waiting offshore is a ship joining a convoy for England. The ferry out to it will not take dogs.
That's good. We don't have one. And put it in your jacket.
Yeah, right. Except now it's like a
once again,
big-ass German Shepherd.
Dog.
One of the guards makes a point of it. They'd turned away a colonel's dog the same day, so a sergeant has no choice. How the dog gets aboard this boat is one of the places where the sources kind of split, and I'll come back to that. The version that Bozdek himself told goes like this. He boards the ferry alone, leaving the dog sitting on the shore. He transfers to the ship. He climbs down a ladder on the outside of the hull to a swimming platform just above the water. Then he calls. An ant goes into the harbor, swims 100 yards out to the side of the ship, where Bozdek wraps him in a coat and smuggles him into the hold.
I can see that as legit.
I mean, would our dog jump into water for us? Absolutely not.
We never give him chocolate.
It's so true. They spend most of the crossing down there while everybody else takes the deck, because a dog on the deck is a dog that is discovered and getting removed from the boat. 2 days out of Gibraltar, a submarine attacks the convoy, and the escorting destroyers scatter. Man and dog stay below through all of it, which, if the ship is hit, means both of them are going to drown in the dark.
Quickly.
Then aircraft come in, and Bozdek makes the opposite call. He takes the dog up into the chaos on deck where nobody has any attention to spare for a dog. You don't care. You're trying to survive. It's like, oh, whatever, there's a dog here. Their ship is not hit, but it's driven so hard for so long that it develops an engine fault. And the passengers transfer to a converted liner called the Nurelia. Hope I got some of that right. The Czechs try to move the dog across hidden in a kit bag, and he ruins it immediately by pushing his head out of the top of the bag. The new crew take one look, and they get excited. They're like, it's a dog! They're dog people.
Yeah.
They're literally dog people. They're like, hell yeah, bring that dog on this ship. And it leaves only one problem. Britain has strict animal quarantine. Even back then, 6 months at the owner's expense, and a Czech sergeant in exile isn't really like balling out. He does not have
He's
money.
not really bringing home the bacon.
No.
He's barely bringing home the Hershey's Kiss for the dog.
Correct. So now they have to like get into Britain. They put him in a bag one more time. They mix the bag in with cargo being craned ashore. And on July 12th, 1940, an illegal German Shepherd walks off the docks at Liverpool. And he gets a new name. You know, the issue with aunt or aunt is that when Bozdek says that, he has a very strong Czech accent. And it kind of is like English speakers get really confused, asking about his aunt, like his aunt, like my auntie. So he stretched it. He added one extra syllable, which is small enough that usually a dog wouldn't really notice. And that is how we get Antis.
That makes sense.
Bozdek joins number 311 Squadron, the Czechoslovak squadron of the Royal Air Force, and they are posted first to RAF Speak on the edge of Liverpool. Liverpool in late 1940 is one of the most heavily bombed cities in Britain. It's the western port. Nearly everything crossing the Atlantic comes through it, and the enemy knows it. One evening, Bostek is walking back to base from the city with a few friends and his dog when Antis stops dead and goes rigid.
Bombers incoming. Everybody hide.
Flares pop into life overhead. There's no cover on the street. So Bostek throws himself flat on the pavement and he pulls the dog underneath his own body. This guy has gone.
Full dog.
Full dog. The bombs come down with delay fuses, which means that they punch into a building and then they detonate once they're inside. Walls blow outward. Debris crosses the road at the speed of bullets above the heads of the men lying in it. Then it stops, and there's dust, and underneath the dust, there are people calling for help. Antis has no rescue training whatsoever. Nobody taught him anything.
He's just a dog.
But he gets up, and he starts working the rubble, and he starts finding people. The men follow him. They get one man out, and then another, and within a few rescues, the wardens and the civilians working the site have stopped directing the dog, and they're just following him because he keeps going to the right places, and they don't know how he knows. He's pushing ahead of Bostek, searching, when a standing wall comes down. The lead goes slack. Bostek stands there for several seconds unable to move, and then he goes down into the rubble and he digs with his hands until a dust-covered head comes up out of it, moving. He cried in the street in front of everybody and he didn't care who saw it. They get back to camp after midnight, and the last few 100 yards, he carries the dog because Antis's paws are cut to pieces and he can't walk on them. They go straight to the sick quarters, which is for humans, but
Fix it, doggo.
Don't care, where Bostek cleans and bandages every single cut on the dog before he lets anybody look at his own wounds. Not long after, Speak itself gets bombed. Antis is buried in rubble for a second time, gets himself out, and Bostek nurses him back to health again. This is all in 1940.
Oh, this is all in just the 1 year.
Yes.
Well.
So now it's January 1941, and the 311 Squadron moves to RAF East Rudham in Norfolk and starts flying bombing operations over occupied Europe and Germany in Wellingtons. The Wellington is a medium bomber, 5 or 6 crew, so it's, like a decent size.
It's cozy.
Yeah. Its structure is a lattice of aluminum rods covered in treated fabric. So it could absorb a punishing amount of damage and keep flying. Its own crews called it the Widowmaker. Yikes. So Bostek flies in the rear turret. That's a clear plexiglass bubble at the very back of the aircraft. It's about 18 meters or 60 feet behind the cockpit, with twin machine guns and a view of everything the bomber has already flown past. So you're facing backwards, you are alone, you're at the end of the aircraft, and you cannot see where you're going. It is known as the loneliest seat on the aircraft, and statistically, the most dangerous one. Dogs are not permitted anywhere near an operational aircraft, and everybody knows it.
But sometimes they just end up there.
So every time the squadron takes off, Bostek hands the dog to the ground crew chief, and Antis goes and sits in the dispersal area at the edge of the airfield and refuses to leave it until the aircraft comes back. And he knows which one it is, specifically, that his daddy is on. Out of every returning bomber in the circuit, the dog reacts to one engine note, and the ground crews learn to look up when he does, because he is always right. One morning, the aircraft doesn't come back. Over occupied Europe, a shell has burst alongside them and driven a shard of metal through the plexiglass of the rear turret and into Bozdek's forehead.
That'll do it.
The bomber is crippled, but flyable. They get it down at a different airfield entirely, and he goes to the hospital, which is amazing. Back at East Reddam, Antis watches the rest of the squadron land, but he will not leave his spot. The ground crew chief tries to bring him inside. He won't budge. Someone brings out a plate of roast liver, which is an extraordinary thing to find in Britain in 1941. The dog won't touch it. He won't take his eyes off of the sky. When the cloud comes in and it starts raining, the ground crew build a shelter around him where he's sitting. That's how stubborn this dog is. He is like, no. Word eventually reaches the base that Bozdek is alive in a hospital bed. There is, of course, no way to communicate this to a German Shepherd, and he stays outside refusing food. So, the RAF releases a man with a head wound from hospital for a few hours and drives him to his own airfield to collect his dog. Antis tries to climb into his arms and hasn't got the strength to do it because he has not been eating. The wounded man picks the dog up instead, carries him to the car, and takes him along to the hospital, where they both recover.
Pathetic.
His first operation back is the flight I opened this whole episode with. Antis isn't at the dispersal point when they take off. Nobody can find him. Bozdek assumes that he's shut in somebody's hut and lets it go, and he climbs into the rear turret with something nagging at him because the dog has never once missed a departure. Then somewhere over the coast, something taps his elbow. Antis is lying on the floor of a bomber at 16,000 feet. His sides are heaving because at that altitude, it's hard to breathe.
Yep.
He is suffocating, and that is why he broke cover. He stayed hidden and silent through the entire takeoff and the entire climb, and he literally only gave himself up because he was like, hey, you know what?
I can't breathe.
Can't breathe. Bozdek pulls off his own oxygen mask, and he holds it over the dog's muzzle. And that is how they fly the raid. The gunner is sharing his air, taking it back for breath only when his own head starts going light.
Oh my God.
Flak bursts around the aircraft, searchlights sweep through the turret, and the dog lies still through all of it. They land, and Antis is first out of the aircraft, and he proceeds to do a full lap of it at speed, prancing, throwing himself around, absolutely thrilled with himself. It's like, I'm a war dog, baby. Then a Jeep pulls up, and out gets Wing Commander Hotelska.
Someone's mad.
Who is now going to have to say something official about the dog doing victory circuits around an operational bomber. He looks at the scene and observes that Antis seems to be back on form and that there is no guessing where he spent the night. Bozdek opens his mouth to explain, but our wing commander puts up his hand to stop him and says this: there's a very good English expression. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. Then he drives off.
All right, then.
That's the entire authorization. There is no paperwork. There is no signature. There is nothing that will appear on any records. But this dog is now part of a combat crew. So, different sources say different things, but we know that this dog was part of around 30 operations. The squadron's ground crew build the dog a fitted oxygen mask.
Makes sense.
A doggy oxygen mask. And his crew, 6 men, unanimously decide that Antis is in. He's in. Because they came back from that first raid, and they have come back from all of them. And in a squadron losing men constantly, you don't argue with whatever is working.
Yeah, this is clearly good luck. We're just going to let it be.
Yep. And at one point, they are flying every second night. So it's like they're flying. Yes, exactly. Returning from one raid, East Redham and every alternate field in the region are under thick fog. Ground control tells them to abandon their aircraft and parachute out. Nobody has a parachute for a German Shepherd. Which means Bozdek would have to jump holding him. If the dog panicked, both of them would die.
Yep.
Nobody says any of that out loud. What happens is a short discussion and a unanimous decision to attempt a landing with zero visibility, engines running on fumes, at a nearby airfield none of them can even see. And they put that thing squarely on the runway.
There are no failures when you have the dog.
It's unbelievable. So it ends over Mannheim. Just after they release their bombs, a shell detonates directly underneath the aircraft. The blast nearly turns the Wellington over and drives steel fragments up through the floor of the fuselage. Their pilot fights it level. They set course for home, too badly damaged to take evasive action, and then a searchlight finds them and heavy cannon fire goes through the aircraft. In the rear turret, Bozdek looks down. Antis is looking up at him, and the dog's eyes are glazed. He turns on the turret light. Antis is lying in a spreading slick of his own blood. And he has not made one sound. Bozdek holds his head for the entire flight home. They belly land at East Redham. He kicks the emergency exit open and he runs for the ambulance with this dog in his arms. Antis survives.
This wouldn't be a story we tell on this podcast if he didn't, to be fair.
You guys, he made it. The dog survived. However, this is the end of his flying.
Yeah, he has retired.
He gets, he's good. Medal of Honor. You're good, my guy.
Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Whatever they give.
Yeah.
There, I suppose.
Oh, Bozdek will not put this dog back on an aircraft, but he also understands that you can't ground a dog like that and expect him to sit still. This is a dog that clearly needs jobs. There's a 4-year-old girl living near the airfield named Jacqueline. Her father was killed in Dunkirk. Her mother and grandmother work all day, every day. With the family's agreement, Antis becomes her escort. Whatever she has decided to do that day, the dog goes with her and comes back with her. And that is how the two of them spend the war's worst stretch. He literally becomes a nanny. Bozdek's tour of operations ends. He's posted to a gunnery leader's course and then on to a training school in the Scottish Highlands. And because the course is only a few days and bringing the dog means paperwork, he leaves Antis with a friend, which is when the whole thing nearly ends in the most ordinary way imaginable. Antis chases a sheep and a farmer shoots him.
Oh my.
And he
survives.
He survives. But you can't do shit like that in the country and get away with it.
The shooting or the chasing?
Chasing sheep.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, you can shoot dogs all day.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a hearing, and the position the police take is that the dog should be euthanized because it destroyed property.
It didn't kill the sheep.
Well, they think it's basically a hazard to somebody's income and well-being. Bozdek can't leave his course, so he writes to his former officers and he asks for help. They send in written testimony, including the wing commander, who had specifically chosen not to write any of this down, who now puts on paper under oath for a civilian court an account of what this dog has actually been doing. And the judge reads that and goes, oh my God.
We're not doing anything to this dog.
This dog is unbelievable. I'm ruling in favor of the dog. So that ruling cost the RAF its cover story. For a couple of years, there had been a rumor going around the British press about a dog flying operational sorties.
And everybody's like, what are you talking about?
Bomber Command. The RAF denied it every time because the alternative was admitting that regulations were being ignored across an entire squadron. Sworn court documents are public.
Yeah.
They're public. A national newspaper runs a photograph of a Czech airman standing beside his dog. The BBC picks it up and calls him the dog of war. Antis is on the front pages, and the RAF, having denied his existence for 2 years, takes about 5 minutes to work out that a dog who flew through anti-aircraft fire and searchlights and came home wounded twice without making a sound is not an embarrassment. He is a recruiting poster. Now we're getting some Seffi tippy taps. So the only reason that we can prove any of this happened, the reason I can tell you this story, is because of a sheep. Without that sheep, we would have no records. There would be nothing about Antis. So, you guys, before we wrap this episode up, I need to be fully transparent and say that there are probably parts of this story that are not 100% factual, because this is the compiling of a lot of very old men.
Chill, dude. Dogs.
This one's for the dogs. So that's important for me to just have on the record that I don't know. I don't know what is technically verifiable and what is not. There are books, there are interviews. Antis really isn't in a lot of the documented records of this war.
Which, why would he be? Because you had to cover it up.
Yeah. It's interesting to think that the most famous dog in the Royal Air Force has officially no flight record. He just didn't exist. Obviously, we have been telling a story about a man and about a country that fell in love with a German Shepherd. Well, here is what that same country had done 18 months earlier. We are going to go back in time to the summer of 1939. With war coming, the British government worried that pet owners would share their rations with their animals and would go hungry. So it published a pamphlet. Send your pets to the countryside or place them with a neighbor better equipped to care for them. And then it advised that if you couldn't do either of those things, the kindest option was to have them destroyed. The same pamphlet advised a bolt pistol for the purpose, which is insane. When war was declared that September, people queued outside clinics. There was a second wave when the Blitz began the following year. Roughly 400,000 dogs were killed, plus hundreds of thousands of cats and other animals. Then in 1941, the War Office realized it needed dogs to guard supply depots, and they had none.
Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah. So it advertised in the newspapers asking families to hand over their pets. And they did. 7,000 offers in 2 weeks. One of the replies came from a widow. She wrote that her husband was gone, her sons were gone, and they should take her dog if it would help the war end sooner. That's the Britain that Antis walks into. Out of a cargo net in Liverpool, a country that had killed 400,000 of its own dogs on official advice. I just think that was...
It's a crazy
It's
number.
really crazy to think about, that this dog entered the country, became a hero, and they were mass euthanizing dogs. Yeah. So the most decorated dog in this war was a German Shepherd.
Yep.
Under a name the British had changed owned by a Czech man in a British squadron.
And they said America's a melting pot.
I know. All right, let's figure out what happens to him. In autumn of 1943, Bozdek rejoins 311 Squadron, now flying Liberators for Coastal Command, hunting submarines over the Atlantic. He's retained as a radio and radar operator, which puts him up in the cockpit. And a Liberator cockpit has no room for what is now a full-grown German Shepherd.
Yep.
So Antis goes back to the dispersal area and waits, sometimes 12 hours at a stretch, until the aircraft that he can pick out by ear comes back. In August of 1945, they fly home to Czechoslovakia to a hero's welcome. He gets married and has a son, but it lasts less than 3 years. After the 1948 communist takeover, anyone with wartime ties to the West becomes an enemy of the state. And Bozdek is charged with treason and desertion for the war he fought to free his own country. And I was not able to confirm the charges against a court record, but multiple accounts agree that's what they were. He's warned basically that his name is on a list and he has to run. And he cannot take his wife and 7-month-old son with him. He's got to go fast, ASAP, get out of there. But you know what he does take?
His dog.
He takes his dog. Sorry, wife, and also my son. I'm taking the dog and I'm out of here.
I wish you well, but the dog and I got to go.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is not out of sentiment. This is out of calculation because he had spent 5 years. Totally. And this dog is a weapon. Mm-hmm. Like he's watched this dog for 5 years detect things before any human could. They cross at night with a small group. At the border, searchlights come on and a fixed machine gun position opens up across the ground. Another group of strangers crossing nearby is cut down. Antis takes Bozdek's group a different way. He warns them of approaching patrols. And at one point, he goes at an armed guard and he takes him down. The men tie the guard up and leave him alive over the objection of at least one of them.
Yeah, but their whole point is like we weren't actually trying to kill people of our country.
No.
We were trying to liberate our country.
Yep. And they cross into West Germany. Bozdek makes his way back to Britain and he rejoins the RAF. He never sees his country again, which is very, very sad. But he is alive, and so is Antis. For years, he sent parcels to his son, Jean, under a false name. In 1949, Field Marshal Wavell pinned the Dickin Medal to Antis's collar. The award for animal gallantry given by the People's Dispensary for Sick Animals. The one that people call the Animal Victoria Cross. His certificate was the first ever awarded to a foreign dog, which meant a great deal to everyone in the room, and nothing whatsoever to Antis.
Yep.
He died. Oh, you guys, because they do. He died on August 11th, 1953, at either 13 or 14 years old.
Old boy.
Old boy. All but about 3 years of his life were spent on Air Force stations. He is buried at the Animal Cemetery in Ilford in East London. And you can go and see where he's buried. The stone carries this verse. There is an old belief that on some solemn shore beyond the sphere of grief, dear friends shall meet once more. Ugh. And then underneath it in Czech, it says, loyal unto death. Oh my gosh, you guys. And Bozdek died in Devon in 1980. He was posthumously promoted to colonel by a free Czechoslovakia in 1989. He never owned another dog.
How could you?
That was his ride or die.
Yeah.
That was his ride or die.
And he wasn't really looking to have that dog. He just wanted to steal one from whatever kid lived in that shed.
In 1994, a man in East Sussex named Gary Manley was handed a copy of Richardson's book by his daughters to read on his commute. He could not put it down and he couldn't shake it. And the following year, he was driving home from work when he heard on the radio that Antis Dickin Medal was going up for auction in 3 days. So he took time off work and went and he bid on it. And he paid £18,400.
Oh my God.
He said he sat there afterward wondering what on earth he'd just done.
Like,
And that,
oh man, what went over me?
and that he's never once regretted it. And he actually met Bozdek's widow and asked her why no film was ever made about this story. She told him that her husband had sold the rights to a Hollywood studio decades earlier. So Manley got his solicitors onto it, flew to the U.S., and bought the film rights back.
Oh my God.
This dude is
loaded.
He's in it. The film has still never been made, and he is still...
But it could be.
He's still asking for producers to make this. So if you're interested, go ahead and call this guy, and let's get a friggin' movie going on this. The medal does get lent to the Imperial War Museum for special occasions, so you can see it in person if you check in. It's a wild card for Final Boarding Call. It is my ode to my own hero, Dog Benji. That is our episode. Yeah.
I didn't expect it, but I'm not shocked by it.
Unbelievable.
It is a very good story.
So cool.
And, you know, when you have a hard week and you lose an animal of your own, you kind of need a feel-good pet story, so nobody better be mean to her about it.
This week, it's for the dogs. So you can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook. We are on YouTube now, as Zach mentioned. And please join us next time when we will be exploring a real transportation disaster story. Until then, remember to stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and give the dog in your life an extra scratch and cookie. Because not every trip reaches its final destination. Goodbye.